The time is at hand.
From Williamson, West Virginia, the gateway to the crackheads, this is In Dark Places, Glitches in the Matrix. My mom and I basically share the same mind. I'm 39. I've been living on my own since I was 18. So it's not like we're even in the same house or work together or anything like that. So basically, we will have entire conversations about everyday things in our heads. I can't explain why this happens, but we will even sometimes pick up the phone and continue on the same conversation. We literally, telepathically communicate every day and constantly know where the other person is and what they're doing without telling each other. I know this isn't the scariest or most interesting story, but it makes me question if reality is in fact true. People think you're crazy, and certainly drives my husband crazy. So you try and hide it, but if there are all these stories, maybe we are not the only ones. After 15 years, I broke up with my wife and started dating. First woman, let's call her Haley, to contact me on the dating site, ended up having long conversations with. She was real nice, and when she realized I was fresh out of a relationship, she apologized and said she had bad experiences with guys who just got out of a marriage because they go on a feeding frenzy. I told her I'm not like that, but I totally understood where she was coming from. She asked if we could keep in touch, which I totally agreed with. She was real nice. A few days after that, I started dating another woman off the dating site. We'll call her Sally. We hit it off. I was having a great time. Kept chatting with Haley, mostly IM and sometimes on the phone. We'd talk about dating and life and stuff. She was divorced too. I'd share my experiences and she shared hers. Since this was very close to the start of the relationship, there are only 2 chicks I actually talked to on the site. 2 months or so after I started dating, I'm driving to Sally's place and the phone rings. It's Haley. We chat about a bad date she had. I tried to be supportive, etc. Then she asks where I'm on my way to. I tell her I'm going to Sally. She asks where Sally lives. Now Sally lives in this tiny town, 30-minute drive from the major city in the area. It's a town of maybe 50 to 100 families. You see where this is going? Not really. Tell us. I tell Haley that Sally lives in this very small town. Haley asks what the name is. I tell her the name. There's a pause. Are you kidding me? She asks. At this stage, I'm 5 minutes away from Sally's house. I ask her why. Do you live there too? She obviously answers positively. So I ask what street she lives on. She said 3rd Street. My turn to pause. She says no way. And then she asks, is she subletting? I grunt that she does. So Haley asks, from the Johnsons? I grunt my assent again. She goes, that's 4 houses down from me. Totally blown away that they don't know each other. I tell Sally about this and she's wowed, but not as blown away as me. The next day after work, I went with Sally to the beach for a bit. The beach she likes, that's fairly far from her town. Close to mine though. We hang out there for a few hours and hoe each to their own house. Later that day, I get an IM from Haley asking what I did today. I told her I was at the beach. She goes, I was too. She sends me a picture of her on the beach. Same beach. Same time we were on it. Crazy. This happened in November of 2013. I was home with my wife and child around 8 p.m. Sometimes in the winter we like to take a drive to a nearby donut shop for a tea and hot chocolate for my son. We had just returned home and had written off the idea, but something told me that I should go. We hopped in the car and began the 10-kilometer trip into town. About halfway there, we saw a car in front of us, swerving in the road back and forth. It was almost coming into oncoming traffic. My wife told me that I should call the police as the driver seemed drunk. I took out my phone, and as I came closer to read the license plate, I realized it was my brother's car. My brother had never had a history of drinking, and I was very concerned what was happening. So I called him, and he said he was heading into town and would talk to me later. I told him I was behind him, and he better pull over right now. We pulled into a small convenience store, and he got out. After a talk, I could tell he was drunk, and so I told him to get in my car and I would drive him home to my parents' house where he lives. I left his car in the parking lot and I drove him home, leaving him to the wrath of my parents, who had become aware of what was going on. A month later, my father and I were having lunch, and he brought up the night that I helped my brother. Turns out they had a long talk, and my brother was suffering from extreme depression. He had broken up with his girlfriend and could not find a job, so he drank to dull the pain. When that didn't work, he decided to end his life by throwing himself off the bridge into the lake. It was only when I intercepted him that night that he changed his mind. I was speechless as he told me this, realizing how close I came to losing my brother. I had to believe this was a stroke of luck, or some force intervening that kept my brother alive. He's doing much better now, knowing that he has a family and friends to look out for him. And I'm thankful every day that I decided to take that car ride into town. I owned a light blue '88 Mercury Sable. I was driving my best friend around town one day, population around 13,000. He was 22 with long black hair. I was 20 with long brown hair. My car had spots on the hood from sun damage. We were driving around a corner, and then I see it. An '88 Mercury Sable, same color as mine. Sun damage spots on the hood, with a long black haired guy in the passenger seat, and a brown haired girl driving. Looked to be our age. My friend said, "Hey, it's us." It freaked me out. When I was about 4 years old, my mom and my grandma took my sister and I to our house in the village for the first time that I remember. On the road there, Grandma stopped the car because there was a dozen people by the road doing something. Turned out they were archaeologists excavating the Lyrial burial site. My mom took us out of the car to take a look. When I saw the ditch and skeletons laying one by another, I pointed my finger at them and went, "Man, woman, boy, girl, girl." The archaeologists in the ditch looked straight at me, then at my mother, then again at me and said, "That is correct." And that's about all the glitch in the Matrix stories I got for you for right now. I'll be back in a few days with some more. Thanks for listening. God bless.